Yeah, Des, you are absolutely right. Your opinion does not matter. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. Athletes like yourself who are in this position, you know, the LeBron James of the world, the Steph Currys of the world, you know, the Cam Newtons of the world. These guys make millions and millions of dollars, right? But the people who are writing your checks, okay, are white. They're classified as white. And so when you have a situation where you are in a position, an athlete, a superstar athlete, that's making millions of dollars, you do what you can to make sure you don't lose that money by staying on the straight and narrow and not doing anything to offend your slave masters. Okay? It's just that simple. And so when you try to make some profound comment about race in America, which is what this fool Des Bryant tried to do, and I'm gonna talk about the response from Shannon Sharpe and Des Bryant a little later. But this fool had the nerve to say, "I've been racially profiled on numerous occasions, but not once has it influenced an ill feeling inside me about anyone outside of that issue. Real slavery is different from what's going on in our world right now." I'm not going to read the rest, but what exactly do you mean by real slavery? Huh? What exactly do you mean by real slavery? So, like I said, I just got woke. I got woke. I got so-called conscious, whatever the case may be, back in 2013. It's 2017, so that's about 4 years, right? So, based off what I know now, I know quite a bit of stuff, quite a bit of information that I didn't know in my first 33 years of my life, in terms of, African history, the transatlantic slave trade, right? Um, et cetera, et cetera. Just so much things that have happened to people classified as black or melanated people for thousands of years. I read up on it, all kinds of books, et cetera, et cetera. So I did a lot of self-studying, and as our brother Neely Fuller says, I'm still learning. But I know quite a few things now. Quite a few things. And so guys like Des Bryant are clearly clueless. They don't know pretty much anything. They haven't read up books about slavery. I can name a few right now. Now Valley Contributions to Civilizations by Anthony Browder, The Blueprint for Black Power, right? Just name some books off the top of my head, okay? ISIS Papers, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Neely Fuller, right? The list goes on. Just the list goes on. Destruction of Black Civilization, right? So you obviously know that if I mention those books to this brother, he has no clue of what I'm talking about, right? Like I said, I'm gonna talk about the comments that Shannon Sharpe said to Des Bryant about his opinion about race, and he played the "what about black on black crime" card, right? That's what Des Bryant did. We gotta fix ourselves, that type of thing. I made it out the ghetto. I made it out of poverty. Why can't you make it out of poverty? That kind of angle, that angle, right? And Shannon Sharpe just really did a great job. I have some things to critique on him, but at least this guy takes time to do his research instead of just spitting out utter garbage like most of these black athletes. But let me play this clip real quick. I'm gonna play it just a little bit so I don't get no damn copyright. I'm gonna play a little bit real quick. Here we go.
Skip, I think Dez heart was in a good place, but because he hasn't read up enough on the race relationship and the history of racism in America, it came out totally wrong. Let me take it piece by piece if I can, Skip. First of all, he said he saw a person quote Charles Barkley. I'm gonna say this: I have the utmost respect for Charles Barkley. He was a heck of a ball player. Um, when it comes to basketball, please quote Charles Barkley. But when it comes to race in America, please don't quote Charles Barkley.
I agree.
Because what is happening is that there's when you say personal accountability, okay, who do I hold account? So I'm supposed to hold me accountable for slavery? What about Reconstruction? What about the Jim Crow South? What about segregation? What about the violation of my civil rights and my voting rights? So who do I hold accountable for that?
Right, I'll stop you right there. That's a great job. Great point of reference. See, when guys like Dez Bryant, they spew out things and they have no idea what they're talking about because they don't know their history. They haven't studied enough whatsoever. So they have this thing, which I always talk about, black people suffer from mental illnesses. That's cognitive dissonance, Stockholm syndrome, and post-traumatic slavery syndrome. All right. So, we are far beyond the 8 ball. All right. The NFL has 0 African American owners. 0. Okay. All the check writers are by people classified as white. All the endorsement deals from Nike, Jordan, Under Armour, Adidas, all of these companies are white owned. All right. You look at the power structure within the United States, there is not one African American governor in any state. Okay. So, again, like I keep saying, the dominant white society controls all 9 areas of activity. That's economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. All right. So, at the end of the day, we are prisoners of war. We are still slaves. All right. Not in the sense of the era of antebellum slavery, but in terms of the areas of activities where the dominant white society clearly controls and dominates, we are still slaves in the prison system, in their prison system. Okay. That's all we are. That's all we are. So, like I said, Dez and these other athletes who just want to talk about, oh, we got to fix ourselves. What about black on black crime? Why can't you do this? Why can't you be like me? These guys are socially engineered to think that way based off of black people collectively as a group being so far beyond the 8 ball over 500 years of systemic oppression, disenfranchisement, subjugation, execution, domination, etc., etc. Over 500 years, right? It's not 1619 that the first slave has been reported. It's 1505. You have to study the transatlantic slave trade. All right? And this is the document. I don't know if my video can somehow reach, some of these athletes. I mean, I don't have to talk about Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick is woke. He's been woke. All right, it takes guys like Colin Kaepernick. Who's the basketball player that I can't remember off the top of my head? The guy from Denver Nuggets, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Yeah, guys like them, just to name a few. Recently, you have to be a martyr to make a difference in terms of understanding the plight of systemic oppression, aka white supremacy, taking a stand against social injustices for people classified as black, aka African American, aka melanated people. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you have to do. And people are just not your average multi-million-dollar black athlete, they are definitely don't want to mess up their money doing that, because right now Colin Kaepernick is without a job. You got guys who literally murder somebody. An NFL player murdered somebody. Yeah, this happened in Miami. This all this stuff is coming off the top of my head, but there was a guy, I can't think of his name, who murdered somebody. It was a drunk driving case or somebody like that. If you know what I'm talking about, leave your comment down below. But it was an NFL player who murdered somebody. I think it was in Miami or South Florida. And he got reinstated in the NFL. But yet, a guy who wants to stand up for social injustices in America by kneeling for the so-called national anthem, Colin Kaepernick is still without a job. That showed you right there that I'm going to highlight this document that I always reference. All right? That I always reference. This document that I always reference is the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders. This is the dagger right here. I always talk about, okay? Always talk about this document. All right. Let me change so you can see my document. But, for those of you who follow me for a long time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So there's no need for me to, further explain. But this is what I always talk about. This document here was based off the uprising, the civil unrest of quote unquote black communities in the 60s. And President Lyndon B. Johnson, the ultimate white supremacist president, wanted to understand and study, why are black people acting so crazy in the 60s? What's going on? I need to appoint some resources, somebody white that we know that the community can trust, to go into these communities and study what's going on with these monkeys. I need to understand what's going on. Everything. I need to understand. So the conclusion they came up with, based off the 1967 National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders, a.k.a. the Kerner Commissioner Report. All right. The basic conclusion was, our nation is moving towards two societies, one black, one white, separate and unequal. That's the dagger. That's the dagger. And of course, this particular document still applies till this day. All right. You look at the statistics from last year in 2016, black people were killed at a much higher rate by race soldiers, or suspected race soldiers, otherwise known as police officers, than any other race in America. Any other race. All right. That's just one particular, aspect. I could talk about any other aspect within all 9 areas of activity in terms of systemic oppression pertaining to black people. So we are far behind the 8 ball. All right. Far behind the 8 ball. And this is the end result, where you have these black athletes who want to have an opinion about race but are completely clueless. And the ones that do have an issue that want to stand up for race and social injustices, they can't even get a goddamn job in the system of racism, white supremacy, because we're prisoners of war. So the minute you stand up against the system, right, by just doing something like protesting and kneeling, you can't go back into the white man's system. You're blackballed, if you will. Blackballed. So, like I said, I commend Shannon Sharpe with his response. That was a great response by him. Like I said, he's a guy that understands and studies, does his research. All right, almost to the point where he'll get to a level of he'll sound like one of these so-called conscious lecturers or something like that. If he just basically reads more and studies, he'll get to that level. But at least he's woke, At least he's woke. So he destroyed Des Bryant. Des Bryant obviously is clueless. He's a buck dancing coon. All right. And I have to say that because I know I'm name calling here, and I don't like to really get off cold like that name call, but I just have to call a spade a spade. When people are, and I saw the comments too, people are just giving him point of references, some insults, or actually a lot of insults, but people are giving him points of references like, hey, you need to watch Hidden Colors. Black people don't like to read. So obviously Tariq Nasheed did a brilliant idea by just making what he's read over the years and books that, the conscious community has, admired and sought after over the years. He put that together in a film format. So people make reference to Hidden Colors and other references as well. If he doesn't read those comments, or he doesn't understand what Hidden Colors is, or John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben, Dr. Francis Quest Wilson, Nellie Fuller, people like that, you need to study on. You know what I'm saying? Edward Bleibelt, the list goes on. If people are giving you these point of references and you ignore them, that would make you a buck dancing coon, right? Because he has so much money on the table, getting paid by Jerry Jones, having contracts, endorsement deals with Jordan Brand. All right. And, Jordan, like I keep saying about Michael Jordan's only worth about $1 billion, but he's made the company way more money than that. Phil Knight is about $19 billion more than Michael Jordan. But yet Michael Jordan is the one that generated the most money for Nike. How does that work in the system of racism, white supremacy, right? How does that work? So, Michael Jordan accepts, him just being a singular billionaire, but not a billionaire 19 and 20 times over like Phil Knight, right? So, obviously, who has the real power in Nike, and that's Phil Knight. All right? But anyway, family, those are my thoughts on the Des Bryant situation and Shannon Sharpe. I do watch Undisputed. I think it's a good show, even though it's on Fox. I think it's a good show. It definitely rivals. You need to have parity, all right? So it's not just all about ESPN First Take. Ever since, Skip Bayless left, he got his new show on his own, separate network on Fox. And I think it's a pretty decent show. I think Shannon and Skip, they do a really good job. So they rival First Take. They rival, and sometimes I think it's on par to be better than First Take, even though it's a blatantly the same show, just on different networks. But again, you need parity. You need to have a rival. So anyway, family, those are my thoughts on that. Leave your comments down below if you saw the response from Shannon Sharpe and you read the responses from Des Bryant about his issues with race and et cetera, et cetera. Leave your thoughts down below about that, family. All right. Make sure you follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at The Black Separatist. If you can, send me a donation via PayPal for my upcoming documentary about the Black family structure. All of that information will be down in the description. Until next time, Chauncey, a.k.a. The Black Separatist, signing out. Peace.